How's it going, everybody? In this video we're going to focus on going in and configuring EIGRP with the neighbor statement. And the reason why we're going to be configuring with the neighbor statement, and the reason why I chose to do this particular video the way that I'm going to do it, is because I have set up the frame relay environment for our EIGRP section of frame relay to be using the unicast adjacency, or the neighbor statement. Now, the neighbor statement is used to appear when a broadcast or a multicast capability is not available. So, for instance, you might have a situation where you can't run multicast or broadcast over your media. Maybe you haven't paid for the service, or the service is not available. Regardless of what your situation is, if you need to use a unicast adjacency, then the neighbor statement is how you would do that. The other potential is you might have a security your security policies might dictate that you must use a neighbor statement because our unicast adjacency, because multicast might be considered to be a vulnerability, and you wouldn't want to expose your network to any vulnerabilities other than what you already have to on a regular basis. So what we're going to focus on here is we're going to take a look at enabling EIGRP over frame relay, and I'm going to show you some of the key features as we go through here. And as we go through, you'll see some some relatively straightforward issues that we're going to run into. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to get EIGRP operational, and once we have it up and running, it'll be relatively straightforward to go through and get everything operational. And then there's going to be a couple things I'm going to point out to you as we're going through to make sure that things are working the way that they need to, as we can go from there to get them there. So we're going to jump over to our configuration. So I've moved our EIGRP setup to paint so that I can draw as we're going along. Make sure I have the right thickness here, and I do. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to enable EIGRP in this section right here. And what we're going to be doing is R9, 18, and 19 will be forming unicast EIGRP adjacencies over frame relay. Now, when R9 pairs with 18 and then pairs with 19, we are going to be using the neighbor command, and we're going to be doing it over the 10-200 network is what we're going to be doing. We already have connectivity between with frame relay over the 101 network /24, and then we're going to be pairing with the 10-200 network over EIGRP. Now, with that being said, with the neighbor command by itself will not get us connectivity across frame relay. You must use also the network command to get the adjacency to come up. But because of the fact that we've already have the 10 network enabled, because all of our loopbacks are a 10.255 the router number and /32, that is going to be what allows us to, because the 10 network is already advertised, we're not going to have to worry about it. So what we're going to do is on router 9, so I'll bring up our, there we go, and I'll bring this guy up and move him down just a little bit so it's easier to see. What we're going to do is on router 9 is we are going to go and we're actually going to get out of here. We're going to type in address family IPv, or actually if we do this, and you can on R9, because we're running named mode, we're going to say address family IPv4 autonomous system 789, and that's all we have to do to type in to get that running. Now we're going to type in neighbor of 10.200. We're going to say, what is the remote link? Actually, no, I take that back. We're going to use the 101 network to peer over that. And I use the 101 network as the underlay. So let's do a do show IP interface brief. Yeah, so I have the 101 network. So I'm going to type in, I'm sorry, the overlay is the 10.200 network for when we do DMVPN. That was throwing me off. So we're going to have the neighbor of, actually, let's first ping it. So do ping 101.0.0.18, and we can ping it. That's a good sign. So neighbor of 101.0.0.18 question mark, and the outgoing interface, which is going to be interface serial 2/0. Or actually, I should say going to say serial 2/0 and hit enter. Okay, that's going to get that. Now, that's actually not going to form the adjacency. Now, and the reason for that is because we don't have the network command turned on for this. So we type in do show IP EIGRP interfaces. Even if you see right here, it's not actually going across. On our interfaces here, we don't have serial 2/0 enabled. So if we were to go, we expand this out just a little bit here, and bring this down, and hit the up arrow. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Why is this? Oh, I think I'm going to have to get a new mouse because it's been acting up on me lately. Alright, so we're going to hit the up arrow. So you notice how right here, we have the neighbor statement, but the interface is not enabled. What we have to do is type in network of 101.0.0.0. And I don't really care what the other bits are, but I'm actually going to type in 0.0.0.255 and hit enter. Discontinue, 255. And now I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do the interfaces again, and now serial 2/0 is enabled. So the network command won't allow you to peer, or I'm sorry, the neighbor command alone won't let you peer. You have to type in the network command as well. So we're going to go over to 18 and get that configured as well. So on 18, we're going to go to global config. We're going to, and let me scroll this up to the top here. On 18, we're going to type in router EIGRP 789. Now, if you noticed, on 9 I'm using named mode. On 18 I'm going to be using classic mode. They will peer. We're typing in neighbor of 101.0.0.9 serial 1/0 do show IP EIGRP interfaces. Nothing's enabled yet. I type in network of 101.0.0.0 0.0.0.255, and now it's over serial 2/0, and up comes the adjacency. And up comes the adjacency, but it is a unicast adjacency because we're using the neighbor command. Okay, so we're going to go over to 19 to do the exact same thing. We're going to go to global config, router EIGRP 789, and we're going to type in network of 101.0.0.0 0.0.0.255. Now we're going to hit enter. Now, do you think that this is going to form a peering? Well, that's a really good guess. No, it's not going to. And the reason for that is because when you use a neighbor statement on a particular interface with EIGRP, it disables the multicast listening capability. So what ends up happening now is R9 is using unicast on serial 2/0. So I can sit here till the end of time, or till I reboot my computer, and GNS3 is running locally in my machine. It's not going to work. We have to type in the neighbor of 101.0.0.9 and the serial 1/0. If we hit enter, momentarily we should get our adjacency up. And I was having issues with this earlier. This guy came up right away. Do show IP EIGRP interfaces. Okay, that's going there. Do ping. You know what? 101.0.0.9. Okay, so we can talk to it. Oh, you know why? I don't have a... I know why. On 9, I only have one peering. Do show run pipe section EIGRP. I only have one neighbor statement configured to this guy. So let me do this. Let me do the neighbor statement here and go to 19. There we go. That was the problem. So we have that. Go hit the up arrow. Now we have one peer. It's going over. It's going over the frame relay. So now let's do this. Let's type in do show IP route. Well, we're learning in the 192.168. So we're learning all these routes in here, right? Everything looks good, right? Well, let's see. Let's go to 18. Oh, not what I wanted to do. And let's go to 18 and type. I did it again. 18. We're going to type in do show IP interface brief. So I have a 10 network in there, right? I'm going to type in network of 10. I'm just going to type that in. It's going to advertise it now. Go to 19, the up arrow, and I should see 10.255.18.18. Let's go to 18 and do a do show IP route. I should see a 10.255.19.19. I don't. Let's go to 19. Let's advertise that in. Maybe that's the problem. Network of 10.0.0.0. Let's go over to 18. Up arrow. Nothing. Let's go to 9. Let's see what his 9 says. Do show IP route. EIGRP. I see 18 and 19. But I don't see 18 showing up on 19. I don't see 19's loopback showing up here. I don't see 18's loopback showing up here. What could be causing that? Well, EIGRP suffers from the split horizon rule, which means that you will not advertise out a route you learned in on the same interface. So what we have to do on EIGRP, we have to go out and we have to disable split horizon on serial 2/0. So to do that, we have to type in AF interface serial 2/0 and type in no split horizon. That's going to resync the neighbors. Now if I go to 18 and I hit the up arrow, guess what I learned in? 6 seconds ago I learned 19 in now. Now if I do trace to 10.255.19.19, I go to 9 and then 19 to get there, right? That's a good sign. Everything's working. Let's go back to the other side and do the same thing there. Show IP route. I'm learning 18 in there. So do trace to 10.255.18.18 and I can get there. That's a good sign. Everything's working in that regard. So everything's doing what we need it to do. Now what I can do is I can advertise a bunch of routes in here. So now I can go in here and because let me do a do show IP route or IP interface brief real quick. Because of the fact that I'm advertising the 101 network and I'm advertising the 10 network, basically what this means is I can advertise a bunch of loopbacks. So for instance, I could type in interface loopback, we'll say 10, type in IP address of 10.19.10.19/24. And then I could do the same thing with 11 and do 19.11. And I could do the same thing with 12 and do 12.19 and then do 13. And now what's going to end up happening is because of the fact that I'm advertising just the 10 network alone, if I go to 18, hopefully I don't bust out again, and do a show IP route, guess what I'm learning in? I'm learning the 10, 11, 12, 13 routes in from router 9, but they're all going to go to router 19's network. So eventually we'll be able to summarize these, but eventually this is the point. We're going to be able to get routes in to EIGRP. Now what this means too is I should be able to go to router 7 and I should see those routes. We're going to type in do show IP route and I do see them. And I see them via router 9. Because router 9 is advertising them to me, we're good to go. And now if we go to router 9 and we do a do show IP route, I'm going to have unique adjacencies to the connection between 7 and 8 because of the way that it routes, and we're good to go. So we have all these routes being propagated, being advertised. We're in good shape there. Everything else looks good. So that's a good sign. Now, with all that being said, what else do we need to worry about? Well, I took care of split horizon, which allowed the routes to be advertised, and this is inherent to frame relay as well as DMVPN. Anytime you're dealing with EIGRP routes coming in on one interface and being advertised out the same, you're going to have that split horizon rule pop into play. Now, what we're going to be taking a look at now is we're going to take a look at some of the minor features inside of that, because of the fact that there's going to be some minor details that we get into as we go along. So we're going to have one big topic like the neighbor command and forming EIGRP adjacencies over a frame relay, and then we're also going to be taking a look at split horizon, which we did. Now what we get to do is question mark. For instance, let's say that the more applicable point here would be on router 7. Now the reason I say router 7, again, I'm going to have to like dock this in here so it doesn't move. So what I'm going to do is I do show IP interface brief. Now what I have here is I have two connections. I have one going out to router 6 and I have one going out to router 13. I do show IP route. I have a bunch of EIGRP routes, but I don't have any connections out to router 6 and 13 yet. Eventually there'll be BGP, but as of right now I don't have that set up yet. Now, with this being said, normally what you would do in a situation like this is with 7 and 6 and 7 and 13, that is going to be a connection in which I don't want to form a peering on. So if I accidentally configure a network statement that 6 and 13 or 6 and 7 could possibly form an adjacency over, I want to prevent that from happening. So how could I do that without shutting down the interface or doing some sort of filtering or what have you? What's a good way to do that? We'd have to go to the routing process, so router EIGRP 789. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in passive interface, and I'm going to say serial 2/0. What this is going to do is it's going to disable the ability for EIGRP hellos to be sent and received. This is going to be the key feature where if you're peering to the provider and you want to prevent any potential forming of peerings between you and them, or any other router for that matter, it doesn't have to be the provider. If you want to prevent a routing adjacency between 7 and 6, you simply would type in passive interface serial 2/0 and hit enter. And 2/2. Now let me ask you this. If I have a connection between 7 and 8 and I do a passive interface to fast 1/0, what will happen with that? Will it just say, well, hey, you're already running it, go ahead and let it go? Or will it let me keep the adjacency up, or will it take the adjacency down? Well, if you understand what passive interface does, it disables hellos. What is necessary for EIGRP to stay up? Hellos. So you can't, if you do this, your adjacency will go down. So it's a key feature to be cognizant of. The interface is still up. Do show IP interface brief. The interface is still up. Do ping 192.168.78.8. I can still ping the address, but I have do show IP EIGRP interfaces. I am no longer forming a peering on that interface. I do neighbors. I no longer have a neighbor on that connection. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up here and I'm going to just simply pull that no passive interface out. I'm going to form the adjacency. I'm going to do the ping again. I can ping it. I'm going to look at the interfaces. Now I have a peering on 1/1. I'm going to do the neighbor. I have a peering with 7 and 9, and we're good to go. And if you notice here, my time started over again. I'm at 15 seconds. So that gives you an idea of how that would work. And that is passive interface. Now, with OSPF and EIGRP and BGP, the passive interface command works identically, where hellos are sent, or hellos are stopped. BGP is, I'm not even sure if it's available in BGP now that I think about it. I'll have to double check that. I don't actually have actually I do have a router I could test it on. Let me do this. Let me go pull up a router from another setup that I've got. So sessions, GNS3, let's go to router 4. We'll pull router 4 up real quick. Type in router BGP 12345. I'm going to type in address family IPv4 and type in passive interface. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that would work. Exit out of here, passive interface. Yeah, I don't think it's capable. So not in BGP anyway. So I'm gonna close this connection out. Close that guy out. So what we have is on router 7. Whoops, did it again. On 7 here, we have the peering to to this guy. So with OSPF and EIGRP, it's the same way. When you are, if you don't want to ever peer with another router with that protocol on that interface, passive interface is the way to go. Now, with RIP, that is not the case. With RIP, you are going to go out and you are going to prevent routes from being advertised, but you're not going to stop routes from being advertised to you. You're going to stop the propagation of RIP advertisements, but you're still going to receive them inbound. So you could effectively use that as a backdoor connection, if you will. And it's going to be a way for you to actually limit your forwarding domain. So with RIP, you're still going to advertise routes, or you're going to receive routes in, but you won't send stuff out. So, and then we're going to go along and take a look at some other things. So we took a look at the passive interface. The other thing we're going to take a look at here, since we're under global command, is this. Where is it? Is it under here? Distance. Is it max? No, it's not maximum paths. Maximum paths. No, it's not that. It's distance. Distance. No, I'm looking for a specific command where, you know what, let me go check on router 8 because I know he's running name mode. So we're going to do question mark, and you could do metric. No, that's not it either. It's topology base, I think it is. What's the word? What am I looking for? I'm looking for basically what it EIGRP. EIGRP. No, let's get out of this. EIGRP. No. What is it? I'm looking to EIGRP metric. No, metric. Weights. No, weights. No, that's not it. Rib scale. No, that's not it either. Maximum paths. Maximum paths. 2. No, that's not it either. There's a way to limit the width of EIGRP. I'm not seeing that. It wouldn't be distance. 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 Why is this not? Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's take a look back at 7. And no, it would be that. Let's see here. Maybe it's default. Default something? Default. No. That's not that. Okay, I actually had to look it up because I couldn't remember what it was. Metric. Maximum hops. Maximum hops. And you can set up how wide EIGRP can go. And the default is 100 by default. If we do a do show IP protocols on EIGRP, if we look right here, the maximum hop count is 100 by default, and the maximum paths is 4 by default. So, but we're going to take a look at some of the other things that as we go along. So, that was what I wanted to show you in this video. So we got everything running that way in that regard. So now if we go to 19, I type in do show IP route, I should see router 7's loopback. So if we type in do trace to 10.255.7.7, I should be able to get to. I do get there, but it takes a little bit longer to get there than you would hope sometimes. So we get there 2 hops away. We're good to go. Everything looks good from what I'm seeing, and so we're good to go in that regard. So I can't really demonstrate a maximum hop count, but it's just be aware that the capability is there. So I hope this has been informative for you, and I do thank you for viewing.